Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Revolutionary Conversations. I welcome my beautiful friend, soul sister, mentor, Janelle. Janelle, thanks for being here today.
Joy. I always love to dive into some good revolutionary gold.
Well, and today is going to be exceptional in that way, in the fact that we are going to explore a little bit into being an explorer versus being a tourist on our life journey. And there's something really powerful. I mean, when I think of traveling somewhere, uh,
Mhm.
some people love to just like stay at an all-inclusive on a beach and drink and relax. And sometimes that's the thing, right? That's what you need in some situations at some times. But I really love to throw myself into a culture where I can see how people interact and I can be a part of the environment. And there's so many different ways to travel. But also, what we're talking about today is all about how we live our lives and the perspective and the life that we step into, whether we're being a tourist or an actual like deep dive explorer. Yeah, so I'd love to hear, yeah, how you want to step in and jump into this one, Janelle. This is going to be rich.
Yeah, the explorer. That's the life that is lived by the one who really wants to know deep inside themselves, right? That calling to explore and find out and to discover, because the discovery is an ongoing journey. It's not just getting to the top of a summit or a mountain or getting to the beach and taking a photo and say, I was there. It's a deeper dive, a deeper discovery, a deeper yearning that I think we all have. But when we become the tourists, we like check the mark. We've gone there, taken the photo, and then we move on. But then when we look at that photo or that memory, we ask ourselves, what did I really get from that? What's the richness in ourselves that we received from that experience and from that trip if we were the tourist? Because what I see happening, Jules, is that we become enslaved to that identity, that self-created identity, that Instagram or TikTok or Facebook identity, that icon. And then we feel to live up to it and show people that we are that and prove to ourselves more than anything else that, wow, look what I'm doing. Look at the life I've created for myself.
And all the while, as we're doing that, and I've caught myself doing this as well, where I'm like, oh, how am I going to share this picture? Or what's the story that's going to go along with this, with this video that I just took? Instead of actually fully being present in that moment. And not to say it's not possible to do both, but sometimes
Yeah.
when we put our attention on that one, we can easily focus in so much on it that we get lost in the fact that we're not there to just take a picture and to check off the box, like you said, but to actually be embodied in the experience and the senses and the culture and the relationships and the in the environment. Like that's the magic of it all. When I hear people's stories of their visits, and I'm connecting with a friend who is away in India right now, and when we start our conversations, they always start with you're painting the picture of what's happening in the world around you, right? So here I am
Mm.
walking the beach, and it's a really rainy day, but the you can still hear how excited the birds are, and right, like just describing it. And he'll do the same thing because he's in India, and in India, here are all of the this. I'm walking through these streets, and it's cold, and the Himalayas are in the background, and it's like, oh, I feel like I've traveled somewhere and been there with him, even though I haven't been. So we can almost say it's possible to be the explorer even if you're not in that space, it doesn't take
Yes.
having to be in that
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. Right. And that's interesting you say that, because so many people find that if they're the explorer, they're the true born explorer, a lot of people love to live vicariously through them because they don't have enough courage and gravitas to dive in and be their own explorer. Right?
Mm.
So whether you're the one who loves to live vicariously through others, you ask yourself, what keeps you from being the explorer? And if you are that explorer, or you're both, you might just compare what the inner jewels are that come to fruition for you when you just dive into something, not knowing what's going to happen, where the end point is, and what's going to come from it. Because when we're truly alive to ourselves in that moment, we're so awake and our senses are so enlivened. And that becomes the magnetism and the charisma in which we might have synchronistic events and meet people along the way, because we're very awake and alive to everything around us. But when we think we just need to get to the summit, our energies are contracted and closed. And we receive such a small bit of all that's possible. And that's a parallel for all of life. How we do what we do, not just what you do, but how you do what you do.
Yeah, and when you describe that too, if there's a full spectrum of possibility, and meanwhile, we only focus on this little tiny, little tiny part of the spectrum. It's like only getting like aquamarine blue out of all of the colors and all the pencil crayons. I'm thinking when I was a kid and had pencil crayons, like it's getting one out of 100 colors, because that's the one that you think you're supposed to get, or that's the one you want to take a picture of, or that's the one, Claude went there last year and he got a picture of that and I want to do that. And then that's it. Instead of actually feeling satiated and fulfilled by the entire experience, because you haven't limited yourself to just one tiny little color in the spectrum.
Yeah. There have been so many times I've gone right along the ocean and been biking or even walking along the ridge line, and I'll see the whale breaching out in the distance, and people next to me are taking photos to get the beautiful backdrop. And they haven't even noticed the wildness of the show that the whales are putting on, because they're just looking for the backdrop, the photo. And I just like, wow, you've come all this way. You've flown across the country, or you've taken a 5-hour drive to get that backdrop. And you haven't even taken in the magic that this place has to offer you. Wow.
Mm.
And we've all done that.
For sure.
Yeah.
And when you say that, Janelle, it reminds me, just the other day, we were in the pathway of the partial solar eclipse. The new moon solar eclipse, I think we were like 90% occluded, which isn't much because the sun's so bright that unless it's 100% occluded, it just seems like the light's weird.
Right.
But I remember like calling my husband from the beach and going, "Are you sure you don't want to be here? Like you're missing out on this, right?" And
Yeah.
Bill said, "Jules, like I saw this guy from inside, and I'm doing my own thing right now." And I just checked myself and went, "Okay, that was me really liking this thing that was happening and wanting to share it with somebody and wanting to project my excitement onto that person so they'd feel the same way." Right? It's like I wanted to be the tour guide on the Explorer, right? And go, "Hey, would everybody please look over this way?" What you'll see is the whale breaching just off to your left, and off to the right, there's a hippopotamus down in the right. And that tendency that we have to want to share the things instead of actually giving ourselves the opportunity to just be there with them and sink into them and let them be absorbed into us, let ourselves digest them. And, I know I'm not the only one that does this, but that was a really obvious, like for me, where Phil and I, broke it apart afterwards. And he said, I know you were excited, but you do understand that I was doing my own thing. You're not upset. I was like, no, I'm not upset. In fact, it was really revealing to me that I wanted to like pull you into this experience. When of course that was just my experience I was excited about. I said, that I love you and that's why I wanted to share it. And he said, yeah, of course, Jules.
Right.
But that like need to, before I even let myself absorb it, that I need to share it with everybody else. And I know I've done that with many other things. I've talked to other therapists as well who learn something, and then before they even feel it and have like worked through it, they're trying to figure out how to share it with others so that they can have the benefit of it.
Yeah. There's always two sides to it. There's always two sides to it. And to the extent that we're open to see what we haven't been able to see is the key. Because how many of us have been in our own world, in our own routine, in our own comfort, and not open to the grandness that's available for us? Because it's a metaphor. Because what we do in one thing, we tend to do in everything. Because that's the style by which we live. And then the other way is to celebrate the grandness that life offers us. And really being able to drink it in. Because sometimes that gift, that moment is all for you. It's for you. Imagine yourself one day on vacation, going to this amazing place and promising yourself that you're not going to take one photo or speak to anybody or share with anybody. You're just going to drink it in yourself. It's the universe, it's nature's gift to you. And let yourself feel that gift that's just given to you. It would feel so different. And what would happen inside of you, I definitely sense would be a different experience. I know that 25 years ago, I refused to take a photo because I was so passionate about taking everything in. I didn't want to stop taking it in to take a photo. And I was always disappointed with the photo I got because that wasn't it. So it was almost as if when I would share an experience with somebody, it was a much greater share. Just like you spoke about before, how I share my experience. So if I fully take in the experience, what I can share or what I can continue to bask in stays there and has a continual effect within me and then throughout as I share. But we get so enamored with the limited dimensionality of a photo or a share of the surface. And I think that's one thing that behooves us to all look at is what's the depth of the gift that life is offering to you? Do you really let it sink in so that you can become satiated?
It's kind of, it reminds me of like a food that you could eat and never actually feel full. It's like a candy, right? Life's candy or life's full, full whole meal. And we often just go for the candies. And they're not fulfilling. They don't satiate. They never feel like you're actually deeply digesting and absorbing them and able to make beautiful experiences out of them. It's just you're looking for the next one, you're looking for the next one, you're looking for the next one. It's like a sugar high. And I like that question. It's like, what are you letting yourself absorb? What's really on offer to you?
Right. I know that when I'm in the kitchen and cooking something, usually it's not a recipe, but it's just this conglomeration of vegetables and a sense of a savory something that I'm going to make. And that whole experience of cutting up the vegetables and preparing everything is so nourishing in and of itself. There's so many levels of what nourishes us, the love and the attention and slowing down and paying attention and doing that with my whole mind and my whole attention. Because we get so pulled into doing 2, 3, 4 things at the same time, right? You know, there's that Zen experience of peeling an orange and spending 10 minutes peeling the orange, smelling it, looking at the fibers, looking at how the peel adheres so closely and sometimes it gives. And it's like, wow, most of that nourishment is in the actual experience of being present with that source of prana, where it came from. And wow, the miracle of all the elements coming together to create this orange. And was that orange picked when it was had its fruition of growth so it could fully embody the prana life force of an orange that got to come to its fruition?
And how very rarely we slow down to truly bear witness and reverence to the miraculous nature of life, our own life, just like whether it's looking at a dewdrop or a snowflake or just like we have to slow down. We can't do that in a fast pace. We actually can't just click it off your list. It takes an entirely different intention to be the explorer.
And in that way, you have all the time in the world. If you could gift yourself one thing that would probably change every aspect of your life, is to drop into the timeless. When you know deep in your own head and your heart and your exploratory senses that you have all the time in the world. You have
Yeah,
all the
what's
time in the
different then?
world. You have all the time in the world. And that you let life live you and let you yourself be taken by the impetus of what's around you when you're in the midst of nature or in the midst of something that is natural in its way, whether it's walking on the grass or being under the tree or in your garden. So many people, oh, I do this for 10 minutes and then I do this for 15 minutes and then I do this. You've just told the universe, I've got a little bit of time, get it here. It's like, really? But what if you are actually the steward of that cycle of life and time? And then you let life punctuate that experience and close it off for you versus you saying, boop, and then you just close it down and you go, right? How many ways that we limit our own experience of the gift that satiate and nourish our true nature.
Yeah. And what would happen if we didn't?
Right,
Boom.
right.
Yeah.
My challenge for everyone listening is to have one day that you have hopefully a clear slate where you don't answer to time-based appointments and sessions. You can have one day. You know, back in in the day, there was the seventh day, and it was the Sabbath. It was the holy day. It was the day of just being. It was a day of celebration. It was a day of rest. However it was, with farmers or with people who, abide in a spiritual tradition, there was that seventh day. And now everybody thinks they'll do it if there's an eighth day, and there's never an eighth day. But we try to fill every day up with something. But my challenge and invitation is to take one day. If you have responsibilities with family and children and things like that, do them. But try to minimize or have even your AM or your PM just wide open. And see what happens when you give yourself to life. And you let an impetus inside of you feel its own draw towards something without an agenda, without an aspiration of, oh, this is what I'm going to go do, or a list. Have a day or a time when you don't have a list. And you see what wants to be lived.
And you let yourself be an explorer in the experience.
And you let life and nature, the true nature, explore you. Let the sun see you, open you, penetrate through you. Let the leaves, the trees, the earth come rise to meet you. It's very different.
That feels like the perfect place to end, so that is the most potent message, because that will change everything. Yeah. Thank you to everyone for joining us for this most revolutionary conversation. Whether you're used to being an explorer or a tourist or a little bit of both, there's no doubt that you got something from a beautiful gem from this conversation. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love if you have any comments, any shares, any ideas of what you'd love for us to talk about. Yeah, we're open to it. We are here. We also host a Golden Genius Mastermind every second Wednesday. And so if this speaks to you, we'd love to have you come and join us. It's free for the first 3 times as well, so that you can get a feel for it. It's different every time, but with 3 different tasters, you'll be able to get a feel for the fact it is different every time, and the fact that your golden genius will come alive in those sessions. So we'd love to have you as a part of our community there. If it suits, reach out to us. And Janelle, I'll leave you with the final words if there's anything else you want to share.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful invitation to come and commune, where we connect, we communicate, we collaborate, and we create in a revolutionary way. And we only become revolutionary when we find something deep inside ourselves that hasn't been tapped into and awakened yet. And so that's what this revolutionary community is, to awaken and create for our humanity and for each of us individually.
If that isn't a great invitation, I don't know what is.
Yes, I hope so.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in, watching,
Yeah.
listening, and looking forward to connecting with you. Much love.